1 minute and 36 seconds into this, and they are already wrong. And the wrongness here is honestly impressive. Everything stated in this video is my opinion and my opinion only. And just like everything else in these cases we discuss here on this channel, everything is alleged. So because I ended up filming this in StreamYard instead of in my other normal editor, for some reason, I just did not introduce myself. So hey, hi y'all, my name's Jules and this is True Crime Reactions. In this exact same wrong statement where they're claiming that Xana and Ethan got home at 1:45 and went straight to Xana's room, they're also saying the new information that we just got in the judge's order regarding the text messages and the 911 call, where we are now being told that Dylan and Bethany were upstairs in Kaylee's room along with Maddie having a discussion about possibly going out and getting more food. Now, this would have been within like 5-ish minutes or less of the girls officially getting home, because remember that 1:45 a.m. time frame was given to us by the local police department in the very beginning, trying to make it seem as if all 4 roommates got home basically together at 1:45. It was the Goncalveses that had to come out and be like, nay, 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 no, they didn't. This is the camera footage that we found, and this is what it told us. This is the time they actually got home. So within just a few minutes, literally, of them getting there, they're now in Kaylee's room discussing more food. Some people act like that's a little bit strange. I don't really. They're drunk. They're all drunk. We don't really know about Bethany, honestly. We don't really know about Bethany at all. We know about Dylan because of what the court paperwork has told us about all of the alcohol consumption, all the White Claws, the Borg, the champagne, all the things. We don't know any of those details when it comes to Bethany. We technically don't really know those details when it comes to Xana and Ethan either, because we don't have anyone that is claiming to be an eyewitness for how intoxicated they might or might not have been. Just because they were at a party doesn't really technically mean anything, guys. They could have been just fine. They could have just been a little bit buzzed. They could have chose to spend the night sober. We don't really know. But when it comes to Kaylee and Maddie, boy, did we see it. We saw it in freaking pretty much 4K. The wobbly legs, Kaylee having to put the phone right up to her face to be able to see. They were way gone. They shared one like pasta dish. Yeah, cool, it's carbs, but you're splitting a dish between 2 drunk, high metabolismed college girls. They're going to definitely need more food. So that's not really a big thing to me. I know that whenever I was doing my whole karaoke thing right after my divorce, it was always some sort of really greasy Denny's Waffle House type thing afterwards. So again, them wanting more food as soon as they got home really wasn't a big thing, but it was a weird thing at the same time because there was a food order involved in this situation, but it was between Xana and Ethan, who were not home whenever this conversation was being had. So again, the misinformation and the false information is so impressive here because it came right before the new information. And this information regarding them not being home at this time is the very next sentence. So, I mean, get new researchers or something, because this was like, what?
Xana, Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin head straight to Xana's room when they get in from a Sigma Chi party at 1:45. But Kaylee Goncalves and Maddie Mogen chat with Dylan Mortensen and Bethany Funk in Kaylee's room when they arrive about 20 minutes later. The smell of Kaylee and Madison's grub truck snacks make Bethany and Dylan debate going back out for their own. 2:10 a.m. Dylan texts a friend to see if they're willing to give them a ride, but getting no reply, the girls decide to head to bed and say their goodnights.
Right off the bat, she's wrong, because he says that at 2:10, Dylan sends a text over to the driver about getting food, and then they got no response. Yes, they did. 3 minutes later, there was a response. So not only are they taking incorrect information into their next segment, into their next conversation, bringing on the next guest, but they are massively bringing on the misinformation. It's not hard to get the details right whenever you actually go off of the documents from the court case. And again, I don't really know the relationship between Dylan and Eric Gower. What we do know is that he was not an Uber driver, or at least he wasn't supposed to be being an Uber driver that night. He could have worked for Uber. He could have worked for all these different companies. Who really knows? What we do know is that he worked for the University of Idaho. What we do know is that he drove with this designated driver type program for the college area. Another thing we know. This was not the first, second, third, or maybe even fourth time he had driven these girls anywhere. He was very familiar with them. Something else we know. The information regarding Dylan and him having some sort of text exchange has been suppressed from us for a long time. Why is that strange? Because whenever this guy who, again, they're using the term friend, I don't know if I would really say that, honestly. I just don't. Again, I don't know the dynamics, but considering the fact that at the time of the murders, his very pregnant wife was working for the Moscow Police Department, they might want to tone that word down a bit. What I find interesting, and I've mentioned this before, is that the girls had just gotten dropped off by this guy. Within less than 5 minutes, they're all talking about going to get more food. Maybe Dylan and Bethany already saw that the girls had food with them and it was making them hungry and they were going to decide to all go out. What I don't understand is why they decided against it, because the text message exchange that we have been able to see, now again, I highly doubt that this is all of it, because something made them change their minds. Dylan asks the Eric guy something about, are you driving? And he basically says, yes, he's driving. But that's odd to me, because wouldn't you have known that? Because Kaylee and Maddie would have been like, oh, Eric's the one that dropped us off. I find it strange. Plus, on top of that, whenever all of this news broke, this guy, when he came out to talk, not only is he somebody who apparently had written down Bryan Kohberger's license plate number at some point, not knowing who it was, but just seeing a like car over in the Steptoe apartment parking lot. He apparently wrote this car plate down along with 9 or 10 others and turned him in as possible SV1 sightings from the bolo that the police put out about the white Hyundai Elantra. But one of the first reports that we got regarding this guy is that he wasn't even aware of what had happened until a few days later. But then we also heard that he was so saddened by what happened, he had to take time off of work. So you're telling me that you worked for the university, you would have gotten a vandal alert. Your wife worked for Moscow Police Department. Not only that, but everybody and their mama and their mama's mama knew everything that was going on in that area within 24 hours, if not less. I'm sorry. Those things just don't make sense. And then whenever we find out all of that, and now there's a text message exchange after what was supposed to just be him dropping the girls off, and that's where his story in this ended. And there's more. And I promise you, like I said, that wasn't it either. There's going to be more after that 213 return text. I would like to add here that this story is coming to us through what is now being released as portions of the girls' grand jury testimony. Now, they haven't given us any proof to back this story. They haven't given us text messages between Dylan and Eric, the driver, that have anything to do with food. As a matter of fact, whatever the conversation was, they decided to not pursue anything with Eric as the driver. At least that's how they're trying to make the story sound. Nancy finds a way to, again, misinterpret things, which you're going to find out here. But in listening to what she says in edit, I caught yet another thing that she's basically misconstrued. So this little thing is going to pop up here again in just a second, but let's go on and continue.
They really wanted to go back out and get something to eat. Finally, opting for just let's order some DoorDash. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. And yet there were still food trucks and restaurants and bars still open.
So now we are at 2 minutes and 17 seconds. Now you see, this is what I mean by, I don't care if you have a differing opinion than me, but your damn differing opinion better be based on facts. What this moron just did here was say that the plans changed and all of a sudden the girls decided to just order DoorDash instead. No, go back and read the document. Hell, let me pull it up for you. I'm going to take me completely off the screen so it's nice and big for you, Nancy. After spending the evening out, roommates Dylan, Bethany, Kaylee, and Madison, and again, this is where old Hippo Face typed her last name as Morgan instead of Mogen, okay, returned to their home at 1122 King Road in the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022. At approximately 2 a.m., they met up in Kaylee's bedroom and talked for a while before going to bed. And here we go, Nancy. Here's the information that for some reason y'all just chose to skip right over. The fifth roommate, Xana Kernodle, who was out with her boyfriend, Ethan Chapin, was not home yet. Maybe if I read it like a freaking robot, you'll understand me. Y'all are wrong, because now you're turning this into, oh, they didn't get food. They decided not to go out to get food. So instead they ordered DoorDash. No, the people who ordered the DoorDash were not even home yet. Okay. Something else that she insinuates in what she's saying here is that the DoorDash wasn't ordered until around 4 a.m. because at that ungodly hour, there are still places open for them to order from. And that's not true either. The document states that the DoorDash was actually delivered at 3:59 in the morning. We do not, to this day, have the time that it was actually ordered. But what we do know is that they have been using it for some sort of proof of life for Xana for pretty much this entire time when it comes from the point of view of the probable cause order. But, they also told us that her TikTok timing was 4:12 in the morning. And then whenever the state finally uploaded all of their self-authenticating documents for evidence, that time moved up an hour to 3:16. And all of a sudden, there's literally nothing regarding Xana and DoorDash being submitted. It's Ethan's DoorDash account. So there's still so many questions around that. But for Nancy to sit here and say that the same group of people that were talking about getting food that didn't get food, then turned around and ordered the DoorDash when the DoorDash order is a completely different group of people that weren't even there for the original food conversation. That's not telling the story correctly. That's not telling the story, at least how the story is being told when it comes to the information. Now, granted, this is probably not accurate either, but we have to go based on facts for the time being. And right now, for the time being, based off of court record, that is the story. And that is the story based off the facts as they are to this present day, not what is coming out of Nancy Grace's narrative. I don't know who writes their information, who approves it, but there's an entire group of people over there, guys, and they are getting how many different things wrong in the first 2 minutes and 17 seconds. This is unacceptable, and more people should be calling her and that entire team out for this. I don't understand. I just don't understand. It goes on to say the roommates debated going out to a food truck for a late night snack, prompting Dylan to send a text at 2:10 a.m. to an Uber driver, not Uber driver. She knew to see if he was driving. Again, that makes no sense. She was standing in the room with Kaylee and Maddie, who had just gotten dropped off from this guy. Ultimately, however, the girls decided to just go to bed. Nancy, read the entire document. Tell your people to read the entire document, because now the misinformation that you started with, you're now moving on to a second step in a fake and false narrative because you've got the wrong information. I'm 2 minutes and 17 freaking seconds in. This is pathetic. I literally already had this video uploaded and I was about to start doing all the details and I was getting the thumbnail together, and then I realized there was no Xana on Nancy Grace's cover. Nancy's hair is covering where Xana should have been, and they have Dylan's face blurred out. So they're missing Xana, but they have Dylan on there, which is just wow, okay? So I went and added her to my thumbnail and honestly just felt the need to input that information into my video in case people didn't notice that. To just cover up one of the victims who actually lost their lives for your big old poofy ass head is so freaking beyond disrespectful.